And we are heading into our first interview this morning, as I said, with Assemblyman Trevor James. And we are speaking to him this morning about the pipe laying project that is ongoing and taking place by WASA, right? And we know that there are some issues that arose. The project, of course, is supposed to increase or sustain water supply in the southwest part of Tobago. And we realize that an issue has taken place and we want to get some insight, we want to get some background information, and we want to be up to speed to ensure we have the facts and we know what is taking place. Good morning, Mr. James. Welcome to our program. We are happy to have you and to speak on these issues this morning.
Good morning, Adanna. I don't remember your last name, but thanks for
Combie, it's
having me.
Combie. Right.
Combie, that's correct.
Right,
Sorry.
that's correct. Right, so before we get into the actual interview, just give us a little background, like a 30 seconds or 1 minute background on this project. What are the objectives and the expectations of this project?
Well, we did not receive a project brief from the WASA. The WASA came to us in February seeking approval for a route for the pipeline. We wrote to them, giving them the approval they were seeking. And we have expected that the relationship with WASA would be a cordial one. We took no action whatsoever to delay the project, to stall the project, despite our concerns about the route. And we've had meetings with WASA, but, you know, we look on in Tobago and we see the intent to create bacchanal in this space, and we have to respond. There's all this negativity about everything that we do, but we are clear, certainly on this issue, that we have facilitated, we have bent over backwards actually to facilitate this project. We have had WASA go through our office at Lambo without repairing it in a timely manner. We've asked WASA for their schedule of works so we could know which sector of the pipeline route they're working on when, so we could plan our oversight that will be necessary. And WASA has not been able to deliver those to us, and we are concerned. The specific issue that's made the news because of the statement of the minister is that we've had an injunction on the site. WASA was planning at the time to execute works on the site where we had an active project on the site that was stopped. We met with WASA on Friday and asked WASA to hold their hands for a few days. We wrote them officially to say, listen, there are other areas of the project pipeline that work can be completed on while we wait for the meeting of the court on Wednesday, because we believe it is critical that the contractor we have engaged and our staff be present on the site when WASA is laying pipes on a live project that we have. The WASA decided that they will not wait on us, and they went ahead. They breached the security barrier that the contractor put up and started executing the work in our absence. And that's where we are at.
Right. So I understand that that's where we are. But before we get there, the expectation or the agreement between you and WASA is that you would work in conjunction for this project. Is that correct? That you would provide what?
Absolutely,
Oversight, you would provide what?
we've facilitated WASA Tobago. We've met with Mr. Williams several times in trying to ensure that we are working together. We've given them the approval they sought. We've had one variation to our approval that we wrote to them since February to say that the route that they should take for the third phase should be changed so that the line could be aligned on the new road that we had intended to build at the time. And as all of the people can see, WASA has still decided to go along the Milford Road down to the Old Friendship Estate Road. It's an issue we wrote to them about, and we'll continue to attempt to work together for the development of Tobago. We've taken no decision to stop the pipeline works. Of course, we have concerns. We believe that almost every project that is designed from Trinidad is designed to limit our ability to develop in the future. The hospital, same 100 beds after 100 years. this pipeline project will prevent the duality of the Clonowell Highway, or will certainly challenge it in the future. And it's a concern we've had. Several areas of the pipeline are above the elevation of the current road. And but we still went ahead and gave the approval, because in the short term, the people of Crown Point, Canaan, and Bon Accord will benefit from the pipeline. And so, despite those concerns, we went ahead and gave the approval. All we have been trying to do is to ensure that the WASA work with us, that they provide the design drawings, they provide the methodology for the road crossings, to ensure that the restoration of the roads and the verges are to our acceptance. We've still yet to receive those designs that we requested. This Tobago will know that this same contractor executed a pipeline work in the development in Signal Hill, and the repair and the restoration of that work has left a lot to be so that we are concerned, and we feel that as the supervising authority for infrastructure works in Tobago, that it is our right to be able to provide some oversight on these projects. And we are still hopeful that the WASA Tobago and WASA head office in Trinidad would come and sit with us and make sure we are working together. We've taken no action whatsoever, despite the statements. We've taken no action whatsoever to prevent or to delay these works.
Right. So you've mentioned a lot of things there. You've said a whole lot of things there. But what I want to get, before we go to a break, what I want to get is, what is the actual route? Because you're saying that they have infringed on the agreement for the route that they ought to take to lay these pipes. They've gone off course. Is that what you're saying? They're not putting the pipes, they're not laying the pipes to where you agreed for it to be laid?
Absolutely. I sent that information to your studio, to your producer. And even despite that fact, we have not attempted to stop the works. We gave approval for, if you can put the master plan on the screen, we gave approval for the third phase of the pipeline to be run along the new road we are going to build. And if you see there, we gave approval for the third phase to be run between lots 14 and lot 9. WASA, in their own wisdom, I guess, decided that despite our approval, as was required by the ECEC that they had, despite that approval, they've decided to run the pipeline along the Milford Road, which will be smack in the area where we're going to put a roundabout and a crossing. And we met with them on Friday to try to say, well, listen, this is what we gave approval for. And we expected some kind of cessation on their part, so that we can come together to determine what's the best way forward. And again, they've decided to escalate it to this madness from the minister. We don't want to get into a place where we are going tit for tat and toe for toe with ministers from Trinidad. The reality is that the responsibility of the THA is to implement government policy in Tobago under the 5th schedule items. WASA's actions are part of the 5th schedule items, and it is therefore the responsibility of the THA. And we've backed away. We haven't made this into an issue at all. We've been trying our best to facilitate this project as best as we can. And we find it very strange that the WASA and the minister would have put these half-truths in the public space.
Right. You've said something that is very important, and I want to piggyback on that. The projects that are ongoing in Tobago is for the betterment of the people of Tobago and must be governed by somebody, right? So we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back from the break. But I don't want, for me as a citizen of Tobago, I know for a fact that when projects are ongoing, I know it's for the enhancement of the island, and I don't want this to turn into something that it doesn't have to be. So we're going to hear more about that when we come back from the break. We have to go for a short break, and we'll be right back. Remember, viewers, to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be back.
Put a smile on your face when you move Coming from place to place. Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome back, viewers, to Tobago Updates. This is your morning show, and we are continuing our interview with Assemblyman Trevor James as we speak about the pipeline project that is taking place in the southwestern part of Tobago. And of course, some issues arose, and we're going to speak more on them. The main issue being that it appears that WASA has gone contrary to the agreement to what was made before this whole project began. Mr. James has cited that WASA, they practically just taken a separate route, right? Now, before we continue, they're saying we have a letter here, right, that was sent to WASA. In the last part of the letter, we're asking that the matter, let me see if I could pull this up properly, eh? Right, there we are on the screen. It says, please note that for Route 3, the section from Friendship Road to Storby Local Road, this is what we were talking about, Mr. James, earlier, right?
That's correct.
Section from Friendship Road to Storby Local Road shall be laid along the proposed road reserve between lots 9 and lots 14, forming part of the Friendship Estates master plan, right? And you're saying that this is what was infringed upon, right? And the letter further goes on to say, for further guidance on Route 3, please contact the Director of Land Management Department of the Office of the Chief Secretary. We want to talk about this because obviously you're saying that there's a breach in this agreement. The agreement also states that consultation should be made with the Office of the Chief Secretary, the Land Management Department. Were these discussions had? Were these agreements met? Was there a conversation further to this letter agreeing to say, well, yes, we agree with this letter. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have the conversation and we're going to stick to what we agreed to.
Well, Adanna, you phrased it differently than I would. It is not an agreement. The WASA, as required by the statutory regulations, must get approval from the Division of Infrastructure. That approval was sought, and that's the approval we gave. So, in essence, we told them, listen, we're going to approve your route with this variation, and that variation was that that last phase of the project be run along the new road, which is from Cove to Storby Local Road. The WASA, we've had discussions, we went to the site a couple of times, looked at the route with the WASA, decided on the utility corridor that we were going to have along the pylons that are there. Because as you know, wherever WASA runs that line, there will have to be a buffer both sides of the line to protect the line. So that's the approval we gave. Now, WASA decided, typical central government action, that we are the big bosses and we can come to Tobago and do what they want. And so they did. We don't control the police. We can't send the police for them. There's no authority that we can appeal to but the public. And we've written to them and we've tried our best not to get an injunction as well, because we could have. But in attempting to allow the project to flow, and they're moving quite quickly, which we appreciate, allow the project to flow, we've been meeting with WASA, and WASA has not been submitting the documentation that we've requested. Now, there's an issue that arose, I think that Minister Gonzalez spoke to, which I need to just highlight. The WASA went into the site, I think, on Saturday morning, breached the contractor's hoarding, entered the site. There was nobody from the THA, nobody from the contractor on the site, as required by the injunction. The WASA, therefore, is operating on our site without any attendance from us. And the WASA can do whatever they want, apparently, without the THA's involvement. Now, the contractor called the station at Shervan, the police station, to report that the actions that were taking place on the site were not his men, because he anticipated that the EMA would probably become aware that works were being done on the site and would think that it was his work, his workers, and maybe cause some other bacchanal again. So he called the station, as far as I'm told, to make this report. And the police went down there to verify that it was in fact WASA workers down there and not the contractor or THA workers. And somehow that turns into the THA attempting to stop the work. If you know, we can't get more crazy than these people. Always attempted to create bacchanal when there is no bacchanal in the space. Now, to
Mr.
go back to
James,
your
are the
question,
works ongoing right now at phase 3, or have the works ceased for a while? Are they ongoing now? What is the situation now? You're saying that WASA, whomever breached the caution tapes and they went in on the site and they're doing whatever it is they're doing. What is the situation, or what is the status of the project as we sit here this morning?
well, I haven't gone to the site. The reports I've gotten suggest that WASA is on the site, laying their lines wherever they see fit, without any oversight from our staff or the contractor staff. And you may not know, Tobago will want to know that that is going to cause a problem, because the design for that road WASA does not have, and it's quite possible that that pipeline may have to be relocated once the contractor restarts the work, and we were trying to avoid all that. Even at the corner where Shervan is, we plan a roundabout and a road going into the estate from that location. The pipeline will be in the way again, and we've alerted WASA to that fact. And I think in a willful attempt to create confusion in Tobago, they've decided that, listen, that's where they will go. But we'd see how it all works out, because we simply cannot in Tobago continue to be disrespected and treated with this scant disregard by public officials from Trinidad. And you know, this is something that needs clarification. Like I said before, the THA Act speaks specifically to the authority of the THA to implement policy under the fifth schedule for fifth schedule items in Tobago. Water and WASA fall squarely in that area, and we expected that we'll work together. The WASA's org chart and structure has not yet divested WASA Tobago to the THA, and we expected that we would work together. It seems clear that the WASA is intent on doing whatever it feels, because maybe the minister and the WASA staff are the big bad wolves and can do whatever they want.
So you're saying that WASA is doing what WASA wants to do. You're saying that what is set up in policy essentially is in breach.
Absolutely. We feel, and the law says that the THA Act says that the THA will be responsible for items under the fifth schedule to implement the policy of the government of Trinidad and Tobago in Tobago.
What are the actions that are going to be taken, that have to be taken right now? Because if WASA is ongoing with the project and you're saying it's going to compromise future projects, the roundabout or whatever it is THA has to do in that area, what we don't want to be double working, we don't want to be wasting time, we don't want to be wasting resources. What actions are going to be taken to ensure that this project continues smoothly and in the way it is supposed to go for the betterment of the people of Tobago and to reach the project objectives, which is to supply a sustainable supply of water to the Southwest Tobago? What is going to happen?
Ms. Combie, we have bent backwards. We've written to WASA. I think that letter was put in the public space in our press release from the division, I think on Saturday. We're clear that we've requested that WASA hold their hand for 3 or 4 days until we can have the injunction matter heard in the court and we can know how we are going. And the WASA has decided that they will not. We've still, not taken the action of taking an injunction against WASA to stop the works. And we still expect that we will have cordial meetings with WASA to determine the best way to resolve this matter before it becomes a major conflict. And we hope that we will meet with WASA again early today or tomorrow to see how we can resolve the matter. And at the end of the day, we want to work together for the development of Tobago. I've instructed my staff to take no action to stop the project. The chief has instructed that we take no action to stop the project as well. And we are still hopeful that despite the little terse words from the minister and I guess from our press release, that a solution could be had in the shortest order, and that WASA will follow the guidelines of the Division of Infrastructure in our approval to them. We are still hopeful that that can be done, and we will see how today and tomorrow go.
Thank you, Mr. James, for bringing us up to speed with that project. And we do hope that you are able to meet with WASA today so that we could get the matter resolved and continue with the project. Thank you very much. Viewers, that was Assemblyman Trevor James giving us some insight on the issue as it relates to the pipeline project in Tobago, on the southwestern part of Tobago. Up next, coming up next after the break, that is, we have, of course, Mr. Joseph Frederick, and he's talking about Young Innovators Camp. He is here in studio with us this morning and he's ready for his interview. So he's coming up right after the break. But before we go to the break, of course, viewers, you know we are going to ask you to do what? Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be back.